What's the most you've seen someone change from high school to your class reunion? My name's Ryan from Askreddit Tells, and today we're going to be looking at that. But before we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell to stay up to date on all our future content. Let's jump into this. A girl I went to school with was always picked on because her parents were poor. Her mother worked in a minimum wage job and her dad didn't work at all. TBH, I don't know how people even noticed her enough to bully her, as she was always quiet and came in and out of class unnoticed. At school, she always, I hate to say this, took the bullying and never once ever complained. That's the best way I could describe it. I remember her as always average looks and intelligence while we were at school, and very skinny. Once we left school, everybody went their separate ways. Last year, she surfaced on Facebook with a family and also a degree from Cambridge University. It turns out she had joined the Army and went through officer training at Sandhurst and is a captain in the Army Air Corps. She has pictures of her tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. The quiet girl who got bullied was a very intelligent, tough person, who I suppose we all wanted to be ourselves. It was nice to see. Wow, this blew up overnight, thanks for the gold, kind strangers. My high school boyfriend was captain of the soccer team, held the record for the 2-mile run, was on student council, and voted best character. He dropped out of 3 different colleges, law school, and the ESL program in Korea he was trying to teach. He's also done time in prison for sexual assault against a minor. I will always wonder what happened. Edit! Did not expect this to blow up. To answer some questions. He did get a BS at Tier 3 Satellite Online School after dropping out of honors college at an elite state school and dropping out of not elite but still great state school. Another poster was correct. He got into one of the bottom law schools. It has a 10% bar passing rate or some garbage like that. The girl he assaulted was a 14-year-old neighbor girl who he assaulted. She came over to drop off her sister's laptop and he was 21. I learned all of this through a few high school friends who I still kept in contact with. Someone posted that getting freedom and not having his ass kissed was what did this guy in. They are 100% correct. My ex was the darling of my high school. He was also nominated for Homecoming King and going to a place where he had to start from scratch. Freedom and isolation. It destroys so many people. In high school, many at the top rely heavily on their support structure. They've spent years honing their look, their attitude, achieving their goals. High school is this large, poorly controlled ecosystem. It's kind of like a financial bubble. It pops at graduation. For years, you've been told where to go, when to be there. They've even tried to give you the illusion on control by picking your own subjects. But you're watched, reminded, helped, poked, and prodded to head the right way. In high school, all you really need to do is listen and not get too effed up. Bam, college. No one tells you to go to class, no one even wakes you up. You don't feel like going, no immediate consequences. You lose your clique, your groupies, you look for that same acceptance that's gone. You fall in with other people doing the same dance, pick up their bad habits. Once moderation is gone, drugs, loneliness, and booze rot people away from the inside. The average Joes and bullied kids often end up excelling in college where the bubble pops and the social caste reforms. Not my batchmate, but an upperclassman. I used to go to a public high school where everyone was poor or middle class. Absolutely no rich kids. This is in a province in a third world country, so when I say poor, I mean down and out dirt poor. I made friends with this older guy who I always see on my sidewalk to school. When I asked him where he lived, he would always point up to the mountain. I always thought of this as a joke, but when he didn't show up for class after a really bad storm, rumors spread that his family's house in the mountains got destroyed. He stopped after school after that, and I haven't talked to him since. He finished high school the next year and applied to a prestigious university in the country. He took a finance course but had to stop a few times because of financial issues. He graduated 6 years later with honors nonetheless. Now he's a regional office manager for a bank, and he also owns a small travel agency. The scrawny kid from the mountain became a big-time businessman. I went to school with Jared Fogle, the subway guy. He was definitely not having sex with teenagers when he was in high school. This one girl was super smart in all the advanced placement classes, was on school council and all the smart kid clubs, always picked for any special outings like campus visits and symposiums. She came from a pretty well-off family, successful parents and all. I went back home to visit my parents and she's working at the local subway with track marks on her arms. I really didn't expect that from her. She was a similar girl from my high school. So smart, hardworking, so kind, her pursuit of perfect grades sent her to the psych ward. She told her story to the class before graduation. Edit, clarity. Same story, but with multiple people. Our class culture was extremely competitive, and it feels like every day there was a new post on Facebook talking about recovery. I'd hoped this problem was more isolated than it seems to be. Not a class reunion, we don't have them, but there was a girl in my class who was always really quiet, shy, always dressed super conservatively, never came close to breaking the rules, a bit of a Hermione type. I bumped into her, not having seen her for like 7 years, and she was totally different. Covered in tattoos, piercings, and dreadlocks. Almost didn't recognize her. Sort of similar thing, there was a girl in our class whose family was Iranian, not sure if she was born here or there. In high school, she dressed very matronely, like she was 17 going on 45. Blouses, business skirts, middle-aged lady haircuts. Flash forward 20 years later, I didn't even recognize her. Boob job, skimpy dress, tan, very tight heels. Working as a bartender. Guess she had a Girls Gone Wild experience after leaving home. Mia Khalifa. She's Lebanese, not Persian. Too bad. I was hoping she was still into dudes. One guy, legitimate child prodigy / genius type in a super competitive STEM program, as in most of us are in 11th grade doing calculus and he's about 12 having skipped a grade or two and then is sitting in on a higher grade just for math class. His parents had a professor from a major university tutoring him after school, pushing him to do math competitions, the whole 9 yards. I don't think he got much of a say in it. It is what they'd been having him do since the age of 3 or so. His senior year, he'd had enough. He dropped out of his STEM magnet program and switched to the creative and performing arts magnet program. His physique was very much a computer programmer's, more than a dancer. He had 0 experience with song and dance. He graduates, go to a small private West Coast school instead of Harvard / Yale, like his parents had planned. Majors in musical theater. After a year or two from school, 2 years into convert to Mormonism. Did I mention his parents were hardcore atheists, even though Mormons don't make converts to do mission trips? He did a mission trip to India for longer than the usual mission. The last I'd heard from him, he was married and having lots of LDS kids from somewhere on the West Coast. He's a fantastic guy, but if you'd asked me in 11th grade where I thought he'd end up, it would not have been anywhere close to failed musical theater major and Mormon missionary. Was laying tile at a guy's house who I went to school with, but was a year under me. His brother was in my older brother's grade. His older brother was the biggest drug guy I knew. He did any kind of drug he could since about 6th grade. He never graduated. His younger brother did and was not into drugs. I asked him what his older brother was doing now and he told me that he owned his own insurance company. Couldn't believe it. A few years later, I hear the younger brother had been left by his wife and he chased her down at a drive-thru and shot at the car as she sped away, causing him to run after her, shooting. He was eventually killed by the police. In high school, this kid was the typical super athlete alpha male who had a mean streak but always seemed to direct it towards the openly gay students. Came back to our 10-year reunion and was about as gay as could be. When I was talking to him, he came out after we graduated and he started college where he met his husband. He eventually went as far as to apologize to everyone he bullied. A girl I sat next to in homeroom for 11th and 12th grade was always really mousy and quiet. Long brown hair, same jeans and t-shirt every day. At the 5-year reunion, there's this totally hot lady in the back, high-heeled boots, dyed blonde hair, and a razor cut. It was her. No one could believe it. I was lucky enough to move in on the same social circles as she did for a few years and get to know her better. She was always a really cool person, but it was nice to see her come out of her shell. Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for today. If you liked it, make sure to check out some of our other stuff and even subscribe. As always, my name's Ryan from Askreddit Tells, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.